Alrighty, hello everybody. I promised a Conor Gallagher video, and here is a Conor Gallagher video. Man of the match against Fulham on Monday, which was quite nice. And I think there's some pretty interesting things to talk about with regards to what he has given Chelsea this year. And there's a couple places to start, so we'll just get into it and see how it goes. So I think the really interesting thing about Gallagher at Chelsea is that when he started kind of making his way through the leagues, he was a very different player than he was in the academy. He was a creative midfield player who often played wide in the academy. He goes to Swansea and Charlton and does similar things, but he gets to the Premier League and he looks very different. At West Brom, he is a pure ball-winning midfielder. He chases, he harries, he hunts, doesn't do very much in possession. A lot of that is West Brom. It is what it is. Where he really breaks out is at Crystal Palace. He plays nearly 3,000 minutes. He scores kind of a goal or assist every 3 games, which is really, really good for a team at Palace's level. And what you see in the stat production is that he's not a midfielder. He does no passing work. He does very little screening ball-winning work. Lots of pressing. If we had stats on pressing metrics, you would see those are very, very high. He fouls lots, he chases, he hunts, he harries, he dribbles, he gets into the box. That's what we saw from Gallagher at Palace. That is not at all what Gallagher has been at Chelsea. Last season under Graham Potter, he was very much a midfield player. Sometimes he would play further forward, like a winger or a 10 in that 3-4-3, like as one of the 2 10s. That was a very common place for him. And what we see in the shape of his production is that he looks much more midfieldery, but you still see lots of attacking player tendencies, especially the low pass completion, not a ton of progressive passing, high ball winning, but much more tackles than interceptions, lots of goal contributions, lots of dribbling, but also lots of fouls, lots of turnovers. And what we have seen this year is that he's a pure midfielder. He's not getting into the box as much. A lot of that is role. We'll talk about that. The ball winning, way up. This is such terrific ball winning numbers. Progressive passing is up. The turnovers are down. The pass completion is up. He's carrying the ball for a lot more rather than dribbling. This is a full midfield player, right? And he does everything. He wins the ball. He moves the ball forward. He takes shots. And so, again, to really, really highlight it, he's 3rd in the league for tackles and interceptions, behind just Takura and Basuma, 2 pure defensive midfield players. If you look at the players around him, defensive midfielder, fullback, defensive midfielder, fullback, midfielder, probably similar role. I don't know how this guy plays, and the fullback. It's all, quote-unquote, more defensive players other than Paquetá. And the same time with the passing, right? 16th in progressive passes, way below the top players. But again, there's a lot of very, very good passing midfield players around him. This is very, very nice to see from his production. We can look at something called DAVIES, which is it's made by a guy named Imburgio, who I would very much recommend you to follow on Twitter. I'll put his details in the description. But basically, it's looking at possession value style metrics derived from traditional metrics. So you can look at all the different seasons and you see the same thing. Palace Gallagher is very much an attacking player, and 23-24 Chelsea Gallagher is much more of a midfielder player. And if we compare him to his peers, so people who play the same role, this is you can separate by different roles. You can see that he is among the league leaders in his Davies per 90, or his total Davies, and is one of the youngest players doing such a role in the league. Going forward, there's some big questions, right? I think a lot of people are expecting that once Romeo Lavia comes back or Kenny Chukwuemeka comes back, that Conor Gallagher is going to be dropped. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think we've seen already that he's extremely versatile. He's played as an 8. These left mid, right mid are what Opta uses to code the 2 8 in a 4-3-3. So you've seen in the double pivot, you've seen as an 8 in a 4-3-3, you've seen as a 10, you've seen as a 6, you've seen as a winger. And I think there's a lot of ways that Gallagher can be used, where the reality is is that he's going to fill the hole that needs filling. He's probably not as good as Caicedo or Enzo at the things that those guys do. What he is excellent at is doing all of the things midfield players have to do to a good enough level that he will always get onto the field. What I have long felt about Gallagher, and I felt this way about Loftus-Cheek as well, is that he is the perfect fourth choice midfielder. You don't have to start him every game, but he is good enough that you're always going to bring him off the bench, and you are always going to rotate him in for people who need rotation, as a 6, as an 8, and as a 10. So there's a couple things we can see. We might see 4-2-3-1 with Gallagher as a 10. That's what we saw yesterday against Fulham. We might see 4-2-3-1 with Palmer as a 10, and he plays in the double pivot, either with Enzo or Caicedo. I think you will see it more with Caicedo than with Enzo. It's fine. We might see 4-3-3s, where you have Lavia Ugochukwu as the 6. You might see Caicedo do this, but Caicedo is very much played in the pivot, with Gallagher as one of the 8s. And we might also see him off the right of a 4-2-3-1 to help see things out defensively, which is, again, what we saw yesterday. There's lots of video that I really like to see. So the first thing to look at is the ball winning. And the thing with Gallagher is that his intensity level, and this is so boomer of me, but his intensity level is extremely high, right? His willingness to close down, to collect second balls is extremely high. So there's a flick on, boom, immediate chance to jump in and start a transition just off of being willing to do it. Here's another one. I close down a thrower. I create a transition moment here. He ends up having to foul, which is fine. It's whatever. This is a foul, a nothing foul here. But there's lots of worlds where that turns into a really nice transition for Chelsea. This clip I really like. In a 4-2-3-1, one of the things that's really, really difficult for a pressing 10 is when a team plays with 2 6s. So here, Fulham didn't play with 2 6s, but they have Willian come low to receive the ball. So it's very hard for Gallagher to mark both of these players. What we have seen Chelsea's solution be, especially when Enzo is the 10, is they will have either the 10 step high into a 4-4-2 and both 6s will mark these 2 players, or they will just have one of the 6s come high and it's like 4-1-4-1. Gallagher does this job on his own. Closes and wins that, and Chelsea have a great transition the other way. Here's another one. They try to play a speculative ball in depth, so this is a good moment to get second balls. Gallagher hunts, he doesn't get it. Quick tactical foul, no problem. You're not going to get booked. It's not a dangerous transition. You just eat the foul. This clip is a really fun clip. Watch Gallagher's head and watch how good this is. So again, he's the 10 here, right? You have both 6s. Watch how good he is at tracking this run. Head turns, boom, I pick up the run. Situation averted. We've seen so many times in so many teams, the 10 stays here, they lose the runner. We see it with him, where he arrives from deep. This pass goes inside, boom, you're in the box, dangerous moment. Picks it up, no problem. Here's another one, but him as a winger. Ball comes to a winger coming low, boom, smashes him. In other worlds, this squirts here to Sterling for a transition, squirts to Enzo for a transition. Really nice to see. The other really positive is his box arrivals, especially when he plays as a 10. Okay, so here he's playing in a little wide triangle with Ugochukwu and Malagusto, or I think this might be Bashir Humphreys, I can't remember. But you end up in this great moment. He arrives in the box for a cutback. Here's another one. You play full width to the fullback, and then you have the channel run from the 8. Again, really nice. Gets into the box, doesn't create much from it, but again, these are really, really nice moments. Good delay to not pressure the back line because you have Maatsen pinning the center back here. Sorry. Gets into a great chance to score himself. And then you have another one. Now you have to get across the front post. Gets across the front post, very unlucky not to score. And then same again, pinning the back line, uses Colwell's movement to get himself free. Great little shift to shoot. Again, great save by the goalkeeper. And these are all little things that just add to your game, where you just have the extra number in the box. You have the extra runner from depth. You have the extra person. And none of this disrupts your defensive structures because he's so fit and he works so hard. And the last one is the passing, where I think he's a little bit slept on as a passer. What he's very good at... What he's very good at is the staying just outside of pressure to give himself space to go forward. And so we see lots of moments like this. Just off the shoulder, he's able to get past, keeps things ticking over going forward. Just past the line of pressure, receives, keeps things ticking forward. Right? Like, there's lots of worlds here where you might think if this is Mudryk instead of Maatsen, that he's making this run here and Broja is slipping him in. Right? A lot of times we would talk about playing the switch here. Maybe, but it's 2v4. You don't really have the options. Maybe it's to play in depth. This is a hard one. Resets. Goes back into a 3v2 on the fullback here. Or a 2v1 on the fullback, rather. Chelsea get a great moment out of it. Again, just outside of the pressure. Can I link to the other side of the field? Maybe just under hits the pass. Again, just off the shoulder. Can I get into the next line? This one's a really nicely weighted pass. And so these are... He's never going to be Tony Cruz, but he is very good at organizing his body and keeping things ticking forward, moving forward. That's my thoughts on Conor Gallagher. Let me know what you think. I have very much enjoyed watching him this season, and we will see how it goes going forward.